Before watching this video, please first watch videos 45, 46 and 59, or this video will not make sense. We also highly recommend that you read the comment sections to these videos. Lots of thought-provoking information to ponder. As we know, there are references to soul splitting in the afterlife in ancient texts and in old shamanism. However, because this has been suppressed in our Western societies, this is new information for most people, and therefore it's a lot to consider and put together. What are the consequences, and how does it affect our current life? What might seem confusing to many people is how we can live such a relatively normal life if we are molded into one big clay of soul fires, consisting of many different other souls, making up a new, complete soul. After all, most of the time, we feel like a whole, complete soul whom we consider being us, the personality. There is a fairly simple answer to this, and the answer is amnesia. When we are born into a new incarnation, we enter this world already traumatized after being remolded in the Between Lives area, BLA. However, we are also born with amnesia, which gives us a blank slate to start with, sort of. We usually have little to no memories of past lives, and all these fires from different souls of which we consist all need to start from scratch. Thus, all these fragments perceive themselves as one whole soul. In that sense, it doesn't matter whether we're just one soul to begin with or a composite of different beings. No one has much privilege before the other. So all fires start afresh as one being. All fires have amnesia. Therefore, the soul can build her personality from birth through adulthood and all the way to body death. If we look at the potential of the soul on earth, it has more or less the same potential as a non-split soul will have, with a few important exceptions. It was previously believed that we carry our achievements from one lifetime with us onto the next, and therefore, even if we have amnesia, we can subconsciously build on past life experiences on a soul level. If the soul is split, this can't be achieved because there is no genuine past life. However, we still have ancestral memories from both our parents. This is where intelligence and inherited skills come into the picture. They are not soul memories, but genetic memories. Therefore, some people have an easier time learning than others. Some are more intelligent than others. In other words, we work with what we have in each lifetime, and what we have is our genetic memories, and some bleed through from soul memories of one or more beings the soul is composed of. Simply put, each human has different potentials depending on what's mentioned above. Seen from the overlord's perspective, amnesia is necessary. If they want to set up a control system, and they do it the way they have done it, they need to solve one problem after another to make it all work. Now ponder what would happen if we were born with all these other humans' soul fire inside us and we did not have amnesia. We would have all these voices inside us with conflicting interests, desires, needs and wants. Every human would be schizophrenic to the 10th degree, and we couldn't function, speaking of living hell. And when we think about it, what is schizophrenia? It is a person with a lot of voices in their head with conflicting thoughts. It's very likely that a schizophrenic person has quite a few fires from different beings inside who remember who they are to a certain degree. The fire who was Jim in the previous incarnation starts remembering his personality as Jim, while another fire, whose name might have been Mary, remembers hers, etc. Therefore, the schizophrenic person hears all these voices in their head, communicating with each other, and they have different points of view. It makes sense, doesn't it? The overlords have made it as difficult as possible to access our subconscious mind. The subconscious mind being the inner car and the path to our oversoul, our higher self. Even the normal person who is not schizophrenic has different voices inside their head. We all do. People who are ignorant and asleep to a higher perspective of reality believe that these voices are just their own thoughts, and they embrace them as their own, when in fact they are other people's soul fire, communicating with each other and the person you perceive as being you. If we were only one original soul, why do we have all these voices inside our head? Even the voices of regular people are often in conflict with each other, and some of them advise against what the rest of the soul is intending to do, and therefore trying to stop us from achieving our goals. Why? Because these goals contradict Jim's goals. Jim, who is now a part of us in this incarnation. This leads to inner conflicts. Taking all this into consideration, isn't this also why people often have such a difficult time achieving their goals? And isn't this why we procrastinate and make wrong decisions? We want to do what is right, and we often know what is right, but still we make the wrong choice. Afterwards we think, why did I do that? I know better. Isn't this also why we mean to say something and something totally different comes out through our mouth? And isn't this what makes us indecisive? We go to the store to buy a t-shirt, but maybe we can't decide which color to buy, creating anxiety, and we leave the store without buying any t-shirt at all. Or we finally decide to buy a yellow t-shirt, but when we come home, we are wondering why we shouldn't have bought a blue one after all. The list goes on. These are just some examples. With increased abuse and narcissism in the world, more and more children develop ADD. Their minds are all over the place, and it seems almost impossible for these children to focus. Many become hyperactive and can't sit still. The reason for this is a traumatized mind, where many different people's fire inside are in conflict because of what we've discussed here. Does this also explain autism and dementia, to name a few? Now, how does this relate to narcissism, codependency, and our inner critic? We've discussed the inner critic / devil on the shoulder phenomenon in previous videos. It's the voice inside that tells us what to do and what not to do, and it is criticizing our behavior. In narcissistic research, it has been established that the inner critic develops from trauma and is a part of our wounds. When an emotional wound is triggered, the inner critic starts dramatizing, and we feel worthless, hopeless, and misemotional in general. However, maybe we should call it inner critics, plural, instead. With the soul-splitting phenomenon in mind, we have more than one inner critic. We'll explain. We are born as one complete soul, consisting of many different people's soul fire. However, it's still one complete soul with a blank slate, no memories. This entire soul builds the personality, and thus, most of these soul fires are in agreement with each other for the most part. Then, when being abused, the soul splits into smaller fragments, and a new disconnection takes place. After continuous abuse, more fires are being fragmented from the original soul, and each fragment has their own experience, different from other fragments. On top of that, each fragment consists of many different people's soul fires. The incarnated human, now being heavily fragmented, gets conflicting data from all these fragments, one telling him or her one thing, while another fragment says something else. Thus the fragments are in conflict with each other, and the human is in conflict with the fragments. Now we have a very fragmented wounded soul, i.e. a so-called codependent. Is there any wonder that many codependents feel insecure, indecisive and lost? Each fragment has their own inner critic or critics, so it's easy to understand why people have such a difficult time making up their minds and achieving their goals. They start projects they don't complete, they procrastinate, they are insecure in their decisions, they need confirmations from others to make sure they are making the right choices, and so it goes. The inner critics constantly trigger the main soul personality, which now is having fires from the main soul trigger, and the entire soul feels miserable. This is working on a sliding scale. Not everybody is affected equally from abuse, and some have been more abused than others. Therefore, we have gradients of codependence. If we look at this from an even higher perspective, we also have the mass consciousness, the entire human soul group, with which we are all connected. Each main soul is energetically connected with everybody else, and being stuck in the grid system, we all affect each other. Therefore, trauma keeps us trapped. Hence, it's not an individual problem, it's a global and interconnected dilemma. On an individual basis, the remedy is still the same as if the above wasn't true. We need to reintegrate ourselves as much as possible, and although we might have more than one inner critic, we still need to silence it, raise ourselves above it, and do what we want, regardless of what our critics tell us. Now when we understand what it is all about. This is not an easy task, but probably achievable. It still starts with the individual. It also ties into the grid, and we will soon make a video about the grid as well. As we can see, there is much to take into consideration with this information. Please comment below. Your thoughts have been very helpful and insightful, and we all learn from each other. Also, if you see any conflict in this information, please address that as well.